All right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan, and Team Scorpion Fighting System. It's going to be an awesome podcast today. I have Amanda Bobby Cooper's father here with me in the studio, Bob Cooper. He's a gentleman that has brought his dream to life. He's a visionary. He's someone that chases potential in life. He runs Integrity Interiors, and there's going to be a ton of insight dropped in this podcast today. So right before we get into it, I want to shout out VetLife. VetLife is a 501c3 nonprofit company. It's a company of veterans for veterans. Every veteran has faced struggles transitioning from active duty back to normal civilian life, and VetLife is there to ease that transition. For more information, please follow VetLife on Facebook or Instagram, or check out their website at vetlifetoday.org. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Bob Cooper. Bob, for the people that don't know you, we're going to talk a lot about who you are today and how you became an entrepreneur and how you became successful and able to chase your dreams. Let's just take it all the way back to the beginning. What were you like as a young child, and did you grow up here in Michigan?
Yeah. Thanks. I grew up.
Don't worry about it. No, just keep going.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm telling you to tell your whole story.
No, I think the hard part is talk about yourself, and it's kind of a nice introduction. We said this is Amanda Bobby Cooper's father, and that's how I've been introduced my whole life. Is this is Don Cooper's husband, and this is, Amy Cooper's dad.
Well, guess what? Today's the spotlight on you, man.
So talking about myself is a little hard, but I grew up here in Bath, Michigan, local. I think you hear Bobby talk about it all the time on her intros. She don't say the town she's living in. She's always like proud of being from a small town, Bath, Michigan. And I'm kind of proud of the same thing, proud to come up from there. And as far as my growing up, it's not a hard luck story. I was around more bonfires. I've been blessed. I've got the best parents on the planet. I never doubted if they loved me. It was such a great upbringing. I've always experienced that kindness that they gave me, and that's who I want to be in life. I don't want to be the most intelligent person. I don't want to have the most clean dialect, but I've always put myself under pressure because I want to sound intelligent. I'm not. I'm average. I'm just kind, and I'm kind because of my parents. And
you've always wanted to be genuine. Since I met you, you just want to be the authentic version of yourself. You're just here to be you, and you know what I mean, and chase your goals and dreams. And I think a lot of people can respect that. You're not trying to put on a facade for people. You're not trying to, I think I need to be this person. You're just like, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I'm going for.
Yeah, that's who I am when I'm not on the spot. When I'm hanging around at the house, you got me on the spot here, so now I got to talk about myself a little bit. But I think anything to do with myself is actually talking about everybody else. It's kind of the same thing what you got here at SFS. I've got inspirational people right beside me all the time. Everybody, my family is very inspirational. I owe my grandparents the foundation for what they built on making people always feel at home, that little Southern hospitality. I owe them that part of my life. I owe my parents the hard work. I don't have anything if I don't have my dad's hard work ethic. And my dad and mom. I always say my dad, and it's kind of like an injustice to my mom. It took me till I was 17 years old to be able to carry as much firewood as she could carry into the house. So their work ethic was, I don't know anybody else. I still crack up because they're at their yard every day. They're into their 70s, and they're making a manicured yard and cutting trees. And you look, and he's up on a ladder on top of his house, and you're wondering what's wrong with these guys, but it's just a nonstop aggressive work ethic.
So really the framework for success was in front of you your whole life. You witnessed hard work, you witnessed character, you witnessed the things that you had to aspire to become to be able to be successful as a leader in this, country and community, and an entrepreneur. It takes those characteristics.
Yeah, and it took a long time to figure that out, that the best thing I had for success was right there in front of me, hard work, and then you got to be likable. Kindness gets you someplace. Humility, grateful. I mean, if you're, let's throw out adjectives here. If you're not grateful for what you have, you may be successful and you never enjoy it. What's the sense of that? That don't make any sense to anybody.
That's a phenomenal point.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that I know that have so much to be thankful for in their life, and they're so focused on either what's next or the little things that are distracting them from what's right in front of them that they're missing out. And then you're going through this ride, through this life, not enjoying every moment that you have before you. That's a huge thing to tap into. We might be able to talk more about that later in the podcast. When you were young, you went into the military, right? And you probably found out a lot about yourself in the military. That probably started to shape you as a person. What do you think were the key things from your childhood that led you to being the man that could open Integrity one day?
I think wallowing around trying to find myself was the reason boxing, I drifted into that and got some confidence. I had confidence before I had competence, and confidence without competence does nothing. And same thing with competence without, in reverse. If you can have the best fighter in the world, if he's not confident to get out there and get his shit together in that 3-minute time he has to get going. So you got to have both. I think I probably was searching for confidence, jumping in. The boxing gave me enough confidence to try to improve myself. The Marines was not like I thought that I'm going to be a better man than somebody by going in there. I was trying to see what kind of man I was. I was testing my mettle, and I went in the Marine, and it was Marine Reserves, and I feel guilty sometimes. I don't know if I feel guilty. It's the wrong word. But I sat at the American Legion because I was activated during a wartime period, and I did not go to war. I did not put any sacrifices. I've had only blessings from being a Marine, no sacrifices. I sat there next to a guy that was in Korean War and talking, and I almost feel, I can't sit next to this guy. But the reason I went into Marines was that trying to find yourself thing. You're trying to test your mettle, see what you have about. It's probably what's made up my biggest part of my life. I put on a to-do list that I want to do all these things. I want to run a marathon. I'm not a runner. My very first time of putting a number on my chest was a marathon. It wasn't a 5K or anything. That's just how I do it, or what life's been about for me. And so now here we go. I say I don't want to talk about myself, and we're rattling off about myself. But this stuff was because I didn't have confidence, and I didn't have competence. When I was bouncing around with careers, and I was working for the state of Michigan, which would have been a very safe job, very safe. Safe is good for a large part of the population, but safe isn't challenging. Safe doesn't get you improved, and I wasn't satisfied. So that's when I went into construction, and by accident, I was in college for computer programming.
Wow, it really seems like you almost got addicted to challenges because you started to just blunder into things, is how you're describing. You're like, you know what, I'm going to throw myself in this situation. I'm going to throw myself in this situation. You started getting addicted to the challenge, and you were probably learning a lot about yourself during that process.
Yeah, and the construction gave me some competence prior to confidence because I was excelling at it in a way.
How did you get into that? Because you said you were going to school for computers, but then you somehow either met a person or you had a circumstance take place that pulled you a different direction. How did that happen?
This is a great story, and you didn't even know it. This is not a setup, people.
This is all organic dialogue.
Yeah. So I come home from work from the state of Michigan, and I swung by my parents' house. My dad was sitting having coffee, probably, because that's what he drinks all day, with my uncle, and they were discussing, and I was complaining because I guess when you're young, you're a victim more than you're you hang around, and I hate that now, but I know I probably was there. I was complaining about my work, how boring it was, that I'd have 2 hours in the morning that I didn't have much to do, and then if I got my work done, they wouldn't give me another assignment, and my uncle said, hey, if I got a job if you want to give it a shot, and I guarantee you won't ever be boring. Well, no truer words were ever said. I didn't know I'd love it. I was going to college for different purposes. It didn't take me long to where they're giving me accolades. They're building my confidence because my confidence is coming up, and I was always a production guy, so that worked out well. When I say I'm a carpenter, it's once a Marine, always a Marine. Once a carpenter, always a carpenter. Well, I'm not a carpenter like in the sense that if you had me do your fine furniture, you're really making a big mistake. I'm a production guy, or get out frame, get it done, and I always felt good about getting a lot done. But my uncle is the one that suggested it. I jumped into it, fell in love with it, so I changed my curriculum to, I changed over to project management, and I was going to school for that, and the next step was I became a project manager, but not because of the school. And I thought, well, I'll switch my curriculum now. I'll go into business. And then I started the business before so I never graduated from college because I always was one step ahead of that. I was already doing what I was going to school for.
What was your original dream? Like when you decided to go into computers, what was the dream, or like what were you working towards, and where did that come from? Like why did you think you needed to go to that direction?
And that wasn't a dream at all. That was I think it was a mistake on a sense of, there's a lot of people in my life that has been very influential. And my school teachers I just talked to one of them, the math teacher, the other day, Mr. Alley. He's probably instrumental in confidence for me. He had me helping underclassmen and doing this thing. It gave me a math perspective. I knew I always wanted to be something in math. And the school counselor suggested to me computer programming because at the time, because I was good in math and I was, tutoring some at on the computers, and they thought, well, this is good. Well, the problem is that didn't fit my personality at all. I can hardly set for this podcast. How am I gonna, and actually I didn't even know why we're coming in for a podcast today. I thought it must be you're trying to sell something, so you're going to do the Bob. You're definitely not. I'm not interesting enough for a podcast. But if you've heard the Bob stories or the dad stories, Bobby calls them, I thought maybe we're gonna.
This is all we're doing. We're just literally talking about life. And like I said, I think more people are going to draw inspiration from you than you realize. It's you have set out on a path and chased a dream, and a lot of people want to do that. They desire to do that, especially these young kids that come in here, that life is right in front of them, and they're probably being pushed one direction or another. A counselor might be saying to them, hey, looking at you on paper, A, B, and C equals D. You should go this direction. And you know what? I want them to hear stories of people that went, that wasn't for me. And you know what? I stumbled on the way, and I messed up, but thank God I searched for my own path, So you start getting into construction with your uncle. You start finding some competence, which then builds the confidence. You start feeling good about yourself. How long did you work under his company? Did you get hired by another company? How do we begin to move forward?
Okay, so I stayed for that company. I kind of did the progress. I was 2 years into it, and I was still an apprentice, and I had journeymen working under me at some projects. My boss then gave me a lot of confidence and brought gifts out to me and said, we need to. I was going in the Marine Reserves at the time, the same time, and he's like, you got a job when you get back, we need you, and he goes, they're not the only ones that need a few good men, but all this stuff was like the right words to hear when you're, trying to put your feet in. Well, the leadership stuff, I started taking leadership classes and trying to figure out, and I started trying to better myself, and I started hacking my education because I knew that's what, I changed pretty quick where I knew that's what I wanted to do. 3 years into my career, I knew I was going to start a business. I knew right then. It was
how?
I think that I started looking around and just seeing that I want to work for myself. Not that I want this. I want to better myself. I want the challenge maybe. I don't know. I wasn't business savvy. There's ways to start a business. One thing is to get good enough where someone invests in you or have the money to do it. So we're saving a little money. We're bouncing houses or doing this. And I had a lot of great people around me. A lot of friends that were suggesting I go. And so the business plan was put together 2 years before it was started. The vision of the company that's still in a file over there I brought just because I didn't know what the podcast is about. So in the vision of the company is there. It's still the same words. It's the same way. It's exactly parallel to the passion I see you with the SFS. And the reason that I started is because I want to have a passion for something. I want to have a passion for life. I think we all bounce around and we want to matter or make a difference or we don't know how that's going to be or how life's going to end or where it's going to take us, but somehow we want to matter. And a lot of people, I know I can say, well, I'll matter just because I got 3 daughters that really matter. They matter to me. They're perfect. I love the differences in my 3 daughters, and they're so unique, but they make their own decisions. They're not little versions of Bob Cooper or Jackie, they're just their own. And Dawn, when she helped with Bobby along the way, they're just unique. And
your life is filled with a lot of things that you're incredibly proud of, not just being a business owner. That's what we're saying here. There's so many things where you go, you know what? Beyond everything, I know I'm a successful man because of this and this and this. I want to talk a little bit about that time where it's probably came from the fact that you started to be good at what you were doing. You realized the people around you weren't this tier above you that you couldn't reach, right? You started going like, wait a second, I can do what they're doing. I can figure this thing out. I have my own visions, my own dream. So I want to talk a little bit about that time when you started to have that, once that seed plants in your brain and it says like, you could bring a company to life. You could start something in yourself. What was that time of life like? How did you come up with Integrity Interiors? Talk a little bit about once that becomes an infectious idea, what does your life look like?
Yeah, I think once you get it in your head, you can't. It's like you can't get rid of it. It's like you go and you don't want to go look at a new truck if you're not going to buy one because you just don't get it out of your head. Well, I got the idea in my head, and I started planning around it. The word integrity come from the way I thought construction was being done. I wanted to make a statement. You know, you can do a couple ways. You can put your name on your company, then you got to stand by your name, or you put what you want to stand for. And we wanted to stand for ethical, honest business. We want to stand for excellence in construction. And so when I talk integrity right now, it's way beyond Bob Cooper. I have partners. I have, Nick Pape has been a lifelong partner of mine, right? And him and I are two different people. We have two different approaches, but we want the same thing. And it's kind of an example of what's going on in society today. A lot of people want the same thing. And then they want to fight over it. Well, Nick and I don't fight over it. We work to the end result because we want the same thing. And it's been a good relationship that way.
That was a profound statement that a lot of people need to listen to. We all are trying to, hopefully, let's just say all good people are trying to work towards a similar goal. And we get there by dialogue. We get there by coming together. We get there by recognizing our differences, but focusing on our similarities and on the pathways that lead to that success. I feel like a lot of the times people go, you're different than me, that means you're wrong. And if you're wrong, I'm not going to listen to you. And if I'm not going to listen to you, then you need to get away from me.
I'm not going to learn, yeah.
100%. And then all we do is we close the lines of communication and we don't make progress as people. And right now, you're seeing that more than ever in this country. I mean, we've been divided over small topics for a long period of time, but I feel like it's at a tension level that we haven't witnessed in a long period of time. I mean, the election's not going to be settled for God knows how long. We have people, if you wear a mask, you're now all of a sudden automatically a good person. If you don't wear a mask, you must be a piece of shit. Like there's so many other factors that just get thrown out the window because we're getting farther away from just like, hey, let's come back together. Let's figure out what the common goal is, and let's work towards that. So without going on a 2020 tangent, we'll go back to, so you start to create this company, which probably is bringing tons of passion and energy to your life. Are you married at the time? Do you have children at the time? Yeah. What does your life look like when integrity is beginning to form?
Yeah, so definitely married with 3 daughters.
All those daughters were already born when integrity started to come together.
Oh, for sure.
I thought integrity actually was created before you had kids.
No, I was young, but not that young. Well, I had kids young, so that's almost impossible. I can't start a company in high school. I don't know where that's going to happen, but no, the kids were young, daughters were young, married, and.
Do you think that compounded stress and fears and doubts while you're starting to do it? Because I feel like a lot of people that I talk to, they say they had a dream or they had a goal or they had something they wanted to do, but their responsibilities at home or having children, they took the safe alternative because of the fears of like, oh my God, what if I chase this and it doesn't work out and I have these people depending on me? Or did you, you just had it so set in your mind, like, I'm going to do this and we will be successful? Or did you not really consider it? You were just on the path.
Well, it's a big advantage in what I did versus like a guy chasing it. You got to have a lot of respect for these people chasing their dreams in your industry. They're chasing a dream that when the dream's not there, they got to go reset, start over, and do something totally different. I did not have. It's a skill trade. It's called a skill trade for a reason. I had the skill. I knew that if it didn't work, I would just settle back into another company, another situation. I was getting offers from other avenues, general contractors or such. So I didn't feel ever I was on an island. Now, I commit. Josh is getting ready to fight here soon, and that guy's. I hear a lot of people say, well, he deserves it. He works hard. He does all that, and all that's great. That gets you there. That's exactly, and that's why you want for him. That's why Bob Cooper's at home hoping that Josh wins or does his thing or gets his dreams, But I know that his path to his dreams is a lot more risk than mine was at the time because I always had a reset. I do know that there was more stress with starting a company. There was more stress with having younger kids. There was more stress with stuff that happened throughout the company. And, some of that probably was, ended a 17-year relationship with my first wife. And I think I'm super loyal, super trying. And I look back and none of it was Jackie's fault. I've apologized to her for some things, but I got, life works out in different reasons for different stuff. I think well, Dawn, and she has. I was reading some stuff she did the other day, and her words she's super private about how she feels and how her thoughts, but all her words are the same stuff I talk about all the time. Like, she's already got that built in. She just won't share it. And maybe she don't need the confidence of getting the affirmation or the like someplace, But, maybe that's what I'm still struggling with. I need a little more confidence. But I've been called that, humble, arrogant, and like, I got both of it. I got some arrogant about me, but I'm humble. But
And Dawn is a perfect compliment to you. I mean, you two are electric together. You can just tell that you're two human beings that had a perfect connection, that maybe her reserved nature with your outgoing, loud nature is like a perfect fit. You kind of need that. You know what I mean? Like, it's apparent right away when people see you and Dawn interact that it's a good, genuine, wholesome, loving relationship. And more people need to find that. You need to find those relationships where you're not just there because it's what you did and it's what you've had forever. It's you have a true love for that human being that you want to carry through this life on a companionship beyond just a relationship. Like, you two are trying to squeeze as much juice out of this life as possible, and your biking adventures and all these things, which I want to talk about on the podcast. You're really two people trying to be your best while bringing out the best in each other.
Well, I think it fits in with everything else we're talking about. It's the passion. There's passion. I need passion in integrity. I need passion in my mountain biking we talk about. I need passion with my family. I do have passion with all that stuff, and I have passion with my marriage. I never go, oh, Dawn's home, I should stop out, or maybe I should do something with the boys. I don't do that stuff. I got a best friend. I'm right there and pretty passionate about living and want the same thing. Want to experience this life to the fullest. That's one of the things I think is my favorite thing about myself, and that's where I'm overconfident and cocky about myself. My favorite thing about myself is that I walk outside and look at the world and just think how great this is. I think I already live in paradise, and it ain't because I've been extra blessed or because somebody's gave me something or I didn't. It's because I can't imagine why people don't realize this isn't paradise already. You hear all the complaints. You go, well, violent crime's been going down for 30 years. We're living longer. Medical advances are way up. You're driving cars that cost $50,000 without blinking an eye. What is wrong with the world to think it's bad? It's not. And even in 2020, our company is better because of we're not better profit-wise because of COVID. We actually are about down in about $3 million in sales because of COVID, but we come together as a family. The integrity, what I tried to allude to a little bit earlier, it isn't Bob Cooper anymore. It's these guys. You're supposed to invest in people, and we have the best crew of guys I've ever worked around, guys and girls. I always make that mistake. I'll say brotherhood because I want integrity to be a brotherhood. Maybe it's the old school communication skills, but I'll say brotherhood when I know there's girls that work for us, or I'll say guys but in the sense, our team is top notch. We hire by character first for a reason, because you can't train that. You can train skills. You can't. A jerk's a jerk and an ass is an ass, and they're going to stay that way, and we don't want them. And that's not what we're selling to our client. We always say we want to send. I always used to say I want to send any of our guys to our best client's grandma's house, and that was just an example of what kind of guy we want,
I feel like there's actually bits of gold in the insight that you're dropping right now. I had this incredibly successful man on my podcast not too long ago. His name is Chris Kleba. He's a multimillionaire. He runs 1 million companies. He's the CEO of multiple things. And one of the biggest things he talked about was searching for the right type of character in the people that they find. He said, more than anything, I want to find their core values and make sure that their core values match the company's core values. Because if I can get a good human being that is willing to try to be their best and be a part of a team that is all pushing for its best, that trumps everything else. That trumps, your resume, your background, your credentials. I need character. And you're alluding to the exact same thing. You said integrity has to be, and maybe the correct word is just community. Because I use the word brotherhood. Tons of women train here. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want a community of the best people that when you look at your team, you can trust them. You can say, you know what? Across the board, these are good human beings that are making sure that we give our best so that we all enjoy this life together. And for the people that don't know, Integrity Interiors are the ones that did the entrance to this building. They're the ones that did the build out on the Bent Yoga studio. The new owners, Bent Yoga got transferred to a new ownership. They might not even know, but the gentleman sitting here with me today, with me here today is the one that built the yoga studio and fully customized that, built our cage front desk that's incredible, redesigned the roof with little accents to just bring that special feel, so you can see the type of passion and the type of dedication in the work that they do, because they don't want to do a cookie cutter mold. Here you go, you're all set. You guys are always trying to go like, how can we deliver the best product possible and make our clients happy? Let's talk about some of the projects that Integrity has done, because I know Bobby for years has always said that you were involved in the Brody Hall at Michigan State University. Everybody knows Brody Hall that lives around there. What are some of the large projects that Integrity has done, and what are the goals with Integrity? Where are you going with the company?
Okay, so I get this question often: is like, what's the project you're most proud of? Brody Hall pops into mind. It's not our largest project by no means, but it was a $3 million project, and we did all the interiors there, and it's marquee, it's national known, and so it'd be obvious to say that. Me personally, wearing my tools, I love that I put the ceilings in the clouds up in the Breslin Center. Every time there's a camera that shines across there, I know I was up 96 feet off the ground putting clouds in, and there's some pride there. But our pride now is shifting. We did Stryker last year, which was our largest probably single contract of up over $6 million. It was a kind of a finished bailout thing. I'm not proud of that at all. I know we got it done, and we got it. That isn't my pride factor. My pride factor was when a client called me and needed people in another state between Christmas and New Year's to get a job done they was buried on, and our guys stepped up, did it, smiled, packed their bags, put their boots on, went to war, because they're proud of what they stand for. They're proud of integrity. They're proud of a culture of excellence. And we don't want to be just a construction company. We want to be the best. And there's a premier price to that. We're a union company. I don't run around waving a union flag and saying you have to do, but the union has stepped up, and we're almost partners with the union. It isn't the union protecting the guys from us, and it isn't us battling with the union, because it's a partnership across the state right now in building excellence, building leaders. They send them off to Vegas for leadership training and communication skills, all this stuff that is what we believe in. We believe in making people better. You believe in SFS believes in making people better, and I love that the guys buy into that culture of excellence. They want to be better, so we give them a purpose more than just because you work so you can live. People come up, they don't work to build a building. That your little front office that looks like a cage that was built in people's heads, and guys for Integrity come in and volunteer to try to help get that done, and that's the purpose. They wanted to be proud of something.
Of course, you're making a statement. You're making something that, like you said, it comes back to just being proud of your work, caring about it, not rounding corners that you don't need to. Going, you know what, we're going to do this with integrity, and we're going to make sure that everything that we put our hands on, people know that we poured a little bit of our heart into that, and you can see it in your work. You know what I mean? And so, how do you find people in this society? Because right now, society, the older generations tend to complain that the next generation doesn't really have the work ethic. They're overly entertained by a cell phone. They are constantly stimulated all the time, so that they don't have much attention span. How do you find the right people to bring into a company that is still valuing the characteristics and traits, that I feel like were probably more profound in the older generations? How do you find the right people to bring in your company?
Well, I'm going to try to redirect that in a sense, because in psychology years ago they used to say if one rule of psychology is if you like someone, it's hard for them to dislike you, and vice versa. If you dislike them, this battle of generations is backfiring, because how many times have we said the millennial this, the millennial that? Well, every one of my friends has quality kids. They're millennial. They're all great. I don't know where the stigma comes in. I do think maybe there's a little bit more of take care of me, or a little disconnect socially, because social intelligence and emotional intelligence are almost more important than actual IQ. So, especially for success, you know how to read people, know how to, follow through, know how to say the right thing in a meeting. Sometimes can be the difference between getting the job, not getting the job, or getting kicked off the job. Well, when we sell the product to them, what we want, they want to come in. They sit across the day. The millennials or younger generation, where you say, once they hear the sell and get an idea of I'm going to work for somebody that feels that passionate about construction, like a construction. At first, when they first hire in, they're usually thinking it's just a job. It's just, this is going to get me a paycheck. Maybe it'll get me some insurance, whatever. Then you got to start selling more. We got to create a love for this. And they don't all love it, but a majority, we have a good retainage. We got guys that have went through the whole apprentice thing, and they're starting to talk retirement. I can't believe I have a company that's been around that long. It shocks to me. I thought I was a meddling kid, and next thing you know, I'm the old man. But
I get it. I mean, through your passion, you almost channel that into the people, and then that creates purpose. That creates, instead of just showing up to get your paycheck, you are a part of something. You're a part of a team that takes pride in something, so that you are definitely more attached to it. You're going to give your best. That's the difference probably between like the leadership model that you see, where a leader paints a vision, puts forth energy, and people follow in their footsteps, versus like the management model of, you better show up, you better get these things done, here's your number and your quota, or else I'll fire you and find somebody else. That can never really make you feel a part of a team. And I experienced that a lot when I worked at Champion Chevrolet, which I learned a lot of phenomenal things from that place. I mean, the owner gave me a shot when he didn't have to when I was a young kid, for a position that I had no qualifications for, that I did not deserve. But he saw something in me and said, you know what, I'm going to put this kid on this position. With that being said, they used the old management style of like, these are the numbers, watch out, scream in people's face if they weren't right. You know what I mean? And that just, it makes you do enough to get by, but you're always instantly figuring out like, what is my pathway out of this? You know what I mean? Unless you just have a broken spirit, and then that's how you perform. You show up and you're so terrified to lose your job that you try to do the best of your ability, but you're never going to be inspired by that. You're not going to go, you know what? I'm going to blow this company away. I'm going to dedicate so much and be the number one employee in this company because I believe in this team. That only comes from leadership. Where did you find that within yourself? Did you find that early on when you started the company, you were a natural leader, or did you develop those skills?
Actually, it has a lot to do. Sounds funny. It has a lot to do with the Marines. Everybody thinks the Marines are overbearing, and they're not. But they're overbearing in boot camp, but everything else is done in a small unit. Like, you take care of your own, you police your own, all this. It's not micromanaged. There's a culture of excellence, and you're supposed to stand for this. And you can apply some of that to your, I've had a lot of influence in my life, and the Marines, that culture of excellence, the brotherhood, all that, I kind of bought, these guys are doing some crazy, stupid things just because they feel good about themselves for doing crazy, stupid things. So why can't I channel that into, let's do something really good. Let's when we leave a job, we can handshake with our clients and they know we're in their best interest. Let's build this thing. And we lose track of it every once in a while. Sometimes you get caught in, like, I'll spend 6 months and not even step on a job site because I'm cranking out an estimate, cranking out an estimate. Nick's my partner, he's busy managing, and we've got 3 offices now, and we work in multiple states, and you get a little stretched out, and you start to hear that maybe the message is getting lost, or there's been some new people come in that didn't really hear the message correctly, or don't have the esprit de integrity. I was laugh, work hard. It's the easiest way to feel good about yourself. Well, if that starts losing track, then it's my fault. That's my leadership. That's the only thing I can do in the leadership anymore. But integrity is not Bob Cooper or not Nick Pape anymore. We have set a model up where our best, or close to our best, or some of our best, take over the next position and move up. It puts a big gap in the field. To get the job done, we're losing one of the better guys. But in our office now, we have guys around us that could own their own companies. The challenge part now is for me to keep them from not wanting to own their own companies, to have something that they feel good enough about, secure enough about, and enough life rewards, which sometimes can be a financial reward. We've got to do that. We've been struggling to, COVID knocks us down or this stuff, but we've been struggling to keep them on our team because we're actually training the best people in the state because and why wouldn't we? Why would we put out an ad and hire something else, or what? The best, if they're the best in the field, they're most likely going to be some of the best in in our management or our office. We don't have labels. We don't have business cards that say, this guy's your boss, or because we don't believe in micromanagement. We believe in a team concept. We're facilitating the job getting done the most effective way. We stumble over ourselves sometimes, but we're all part of the same team, and I think they appreciate that honesty.
I actually love what you just said. You're basically training people to be so successful and the best version of themselves that they could go out and basically do it on their own if they wanted to. And you're giving them the confidence that, like, hey, you are able to be the best. You can be this. But they enjoy the environment so much, and they enjoy the team, and they respect so much the group of people around them. They don't want to. They want to be a part of integrity. That's a beautiful way to look at things, because I feel like there are a lot of managers in life that have to keep a certain level of a thumb on someone's head to hold them down, because if you show that person that they can aspire to achieve so much more, that they could blow the roof off this thing and go to a whole new level, there's an insecurity there, and they think, oh my God, they're going to leave me. You're looking at it a different way. You go, I'm going to create such a positive, healthy work environment and company, and such a good community that people are a part of. They want to be a part of integrity. Integrity is a part of their pride. I work for Integrity Interiors. And it's not, this is my direct boss, that's my, yeah, there is a hierarchy, of course, in all companies, but you just look at it as like, these are my fellow workers and my team. I love that.
Yeah, and I'm most proud of that for Integrity. When we talk like we're a family, everybody puts these catchphrases around. We're a family. This thing. Well, we are. I've watched these guys. Their kids grow up. Our estimator, which he should wear a cape. He's such a good estimator lately. But our estimator, his kids drew a picture of his daughter, young daughter, drew a picture of a horse and brought it to me years ago, and she was pretty young. And now they're talking college, and she's getting a scholarship, and there's a. Oh my gosh, they're growing up right around me, and it is family, and your friends can become family, and I went to a leadership seminar years ago, and they said, well, don't become friends with the guys that work with. Well, bullshit to that. These guys, we're hiring high character people. I want them kind of people to be friends. There's a lot of bad leadership advice that that I don't. Maybe it's good leadership advice, but that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, throw that one in. You don't want to influence people. You want to inspire people. You want to
Man, I am loving what you're saying right now. If the people couldn't see me on the mic, I was over here doing this the entire time, because I feel like I've had so many businessmen tell me, you can't do this, don't do that, you better do this, you need to follow this, and I don't listen to any of that shit. A lot of times, you can't become friends. You know what? That's their model of thinking. That's their model for success. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in inspiring people. I believe in bringing out the best in people. I believe in handshake deals when some people tell me, like, how could you even think of that? Yeah. You better get signed in blood that this person is making this commitment. No, because you know what? If you didn't want to be a part of what I was doing anymore, that type of energy, I wouldn't want to force you to be around.
If you can't trust the handshake, don't sign the contract.
100%, man.
That's the way. So that's our business model too. I haven't even got into that part. Is our clients are equally as good. When you said come on this podcast, maybe you think this could help Integrity or this could help Integrity. Don't need advertising. We don't even advertise. I don't want cold phone calls. I don't want a guy call me saying they need something done in their house or this and that. I don't want to sound cold that way. But we select our clients. But that's how we grow. We go grab another client. We don't fight. We've never been in a lawsuit. We've never been not paid. We have great clients. We grow with them. If we need more expansion, we add another client. And we can't add clients or add work without the workforce. It's a skilled trade workforce. You don't just hire. They're not interchangeable parts. You can't just hire more people and say, it's not a phone call. Even though we are in the union, we don't call the union to say, send me 20 more guys. That don't work. 20 more guys that aren't working right now, there's probably a reason, but not to be insultive towards them, but we have to select our team and build our team, because you can't send people out to a job site that aren't giving what you're selling. And, we'll stand by it. We don't always get it right. We do some jobs that little less quality than what we would like or what we stand for. We have some mistakes. Some guys say the wrong thing to the wrong person, but it's how we handle it after that sets us apart for sure.
100%. And you know what? I think a lot of people could take inspiration from the fact that when you listen to his words, how many companies out there that are demanding that you have to follow all these rules and you need to do things this way probably have a bunch of lawsuits. They have people that were unhappy with past work. They're angry. They're getting bad reviews thrown at them because they don't follow through with the full integrity of, you know what? I'm going to make it right. I'm going to do it the right way. And you know what? In a business sense, it might affect my margin sometimes. I might have to look back and go, you know what? I could have been more of a businessman here and done this, but that's not how we believe in doing things. The amount of like memberships over the years that I've given away, or people that couldn't afford it, or that are in tough situations that I just let go for so long. And people look at me and say, you're crazy. Why would you do that? It's such a bigger picture. I think the people that don't get it are like, I would way rather be on this side. I would rather be on the side of generosity. I would rather be on the side of doing something that some people think you shouldn't do that. I would rather err on this side than follow the methods that so many people say, like, oh, you have to do A, B, and C. Right when you were saying that, man, we don't have clients that are furious at us, and we're not, 2 years behind on getting paid for a job because there's a dispute. And how much better does that feel? You can actually sleep at night knowing you don't have 50 invoices that you need to go send a collector for.
Well, I didn't say we didn't have to collect. No. Our pay cycle is like 60 to 90 days is good now. But integrity is about the people. We've got such a great team. It's amazing to me that there's over 150 tradesmen that work for us on a regular basis. Our first year of sales, we're lucky. I remember hitting $250,000. Then you're going to go, and sales are a tricky thing to talk about because people automatically think sales is success, and they might be when you're talking sales on selling trucks or something. But in our business, yes, sales is volume, but sales don't equate profits. It's a good indicator, I guess you can say. We've grown because we used to do less than $1 million in sales, and then when we started in 97, 98-ish, and now we're up we're not going to make it this year, but we're over 20 million last year in sales. And
so your business is at least scaling. You're at least scaling up, and everything grows with that. I mean, but for as much as you might have a massive project that's $6 million, the costs associated with that scale equally. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's an indicator for success there, but it's not like people should just hear those numbers and instantly go, oh my God, we're sitting here with the multi-millionaire that's dominating the world. It all scales, and you're trying to just push the limit. One thing that you talked to me about before the podcast, actually, that I want to really make sure that we touch into is, I said, if the older gentleman, Bob, that sat with me here today was talking to the young gentleman that was just about to start that company, about to venture out on his own, you started to say that, you know what, I might have erred too far on the side of caution. I might have told him, like, oh, don't do this, don't make that, don't do this. Yeah. How has your perspective changed from being that young man that first had the idea of integrity to now? Because you've made it. You are successful. You are the leader of the company, but life tends to shape you. You've probably gone through loss. You've gone through victories, and how has it changed your life in a perspective basis? Yeah,
and I like every part of my life. Every part of this path has been great to me. And when the economy crashed in 2008, integrity was struggling. We had, I don't know, people don't know this because I don't change my personality too much. I'm grateful no matter where I'm at in life, no matter what the only thing that changes in my life is the bank account. And I still have bacon for breakfast. I always laugh about that. No matter where I'm at in life, it's still kind of the same. And so I live in that kind of philosophy. And during 2008, when the economy crashed and integrity was struggling along the way, we became a better company. We got back to business, back to how we started. We started hand-delivering bids to clients and building that relationship from some of our clients went out of business, and that left us, we were so client-focused and not very diverse that we almost went out with them. Because when they went out, we didn't know where to go, and you can't start new relationships in a bad economy. So we got more. What you're doing now with diversity, you don't even know how important that's going to be if you need it, But we started concentrating on being diverse in our scope of work, being diverse in our areas. We can work out of the state. We picked up a flooring division because we invested in two great. Evan and Greg in our flooring division are the best I've ever worked around in flooring. I do have other friends that are in flooring, so I don't want to alienate them. But I didn't have the other friends. They were older at the time, so I didn't have that youth for vigor and the skill. So they have this little youth, and they built that up. Well, going back to your question is where I would have been in different things. I think that I'm very glad that integrity right now is so much bigger than me, because I don't know if I can carry the passion to keep it going all the day. So we've got invested around us, what I just said, the Greg, the Derek, the Dan, the Jason. I'll just rattle off our whole team in our office, and then that ventures out to our field. We got foremen that are, I'm so proud of them, but they have the passion and the vigor, and they carry the torch. And now I can sit around and concentrate on businesses and growth and grabbing. We're looking at maybe picking up something and starting our office back in Florida that we had years ago, and we can concentrate on business stuff, not carrying the torch and keeping that fire lit with the guy, keeping them excited about what they do. And
I actually love that, because I can tell you, as a man that's built what I have from the ground up, sometimes you are carrying the weight of the world, and you are the fire that everybody is, gathering towards, and you're the magnetism that is kind of pulling people in and driving things towards the future. But I tell you what, during struggles, or just during the relentless pursuit, sometimes that fire can wane a little bit, and it can be a little overwhelming, and especially if you don't see things come to fruition, or you're putting so much effort into some people or places or circumstances, and then it doesn't work out, and then you just feel a little bit devastated. But like within the last couple of years, and this academy is a great example, is I've brought the right people around me, the Master Juans, the Chalbeck, the Chris Down and Hillary and Bent Yoga. And now all of a sudden there's so much passion around me and so much of that energy that even if I'm not at 100% in my gas tank, if I'm at 94, they pick me up. You know what I mean? They kind of bring me up to that next level again. And it is a nice feeling, because, I think when you're first launching a company, you need a captain of the ship. You need one guy that sees the vision, that is chasing it and hunting it down, or maybe a couple investors in your case, but you're all on the same, very focused, like, we're going to get here, or this is the direction we're going. But as things get bigger, it is really nice to bring in those other people that go, hey, what about this? And that youthful vigor that you spoke about. When you're around people that are fueled by life, it just brings you up. It makes life more enjoyable. So then if you were feeling a little stressed about A, B, or C, and you got all these other people that are fired up too, it just, you know what? All that shit fades away. And you go, you know what? We are going to do this. We're going to focus on this. We're going to dial back in on that. We're going to reevaluate our shortcomings in this area, and it kind of keeps you moving forward. One thing I want to ask about is, so I was fortunate enough that when I was launching all this, I didn't have a family, I didn't have kids, I didn't have a lot of responsibilities in my life, and I had a certain level of a safety net too. Like, if I was to fail doing this, I know that I can succeed across a wide array of things. I'm very good with computers. I'm good with people. I know I have a good skill set, so I wasn't ever really that worried. But when you're first starting out building a company, it almost becomes like an obsession. Like it probably was for you, and it was for me. It's all you can think about. Your mind just, it's an obsession. And when you have a family and you have children, you have these other things, how did you balance the obsession to try to create integrity versus the responsibility and things that you have to have with being a family man and being a father and being a husband and being you? It's like you have so many different roles, but if you're not giving 100% in one area, all of a sudden it's like this slips a little and then this slips a little. I never had to experience that, so I'm always fascinated by what other people had to go through.
Well, years ago, I wanted to write a book called Balance, or basically the premise would be balance, to live a life in balance, because every time things went wrong in my life, it's because that balance got too far one way or the other. And I do believe in a balance in life, a passion for multiple things. And when you start a business, I worked unbelievable hours around the clock, bidding at night, paperwork stacked all over the thing, losing track of some family stuff. It took a lot to get a company started, and then bringing in the right people or talking with the right people and partnering up and take some of that share. It's a different beast now than it was. We hired an estimator, brought him up from the field 5-6 years ago. That changed my life more than any decision I've ever done, because now it's not just me, that ain't the lion's share of it. But the balance, I went to a Jack Miller seminar years ago, a leadership seminar, and we went through this whole talking leadership, lined with business, thinking business, all the thing. And then the last thing he said on the way out the door was, you guys are gonna, you know what it takes to start a business. You know what it takes to run it. It takes a good vision. It takes finances. It takes good, clean books. It takes communication. It takes short-term goals. It takes long-term goals. It's all this stuff laid out. You all know it. He goes, well, I want you to leave here with one thing, and will you please do that for your family? Will you please take the time to have a vision, have a mission statement, and I think you've seen me. I write stuff. This is what Cooper stands for. This is our vision. This is our thing. We had family meetings. We had stuff. Now it's hard for me to set. There's some things like I had to do a speech one time about safety, and I failed miserably because I'm not confident. I broke every bone in my body almost. I mean, I don't know the stories. I'm not the right guy to lead a speech about safety. Well,
real quick, not to interrupt this train of thought, but I've only ever done 2 wildly athletic things with Mr. Cooper. We went mountain bike trail riding one time, and we went skiing the other time. Both times. One time he left on a stretcher from skiing. We were going down this Black Diamond Hill, and I'm flying down it, and all of a sudden I see him blow past me at Mach 10 speeds, knees shaking like crazy, and then all you see is just a giant puff of snow. And then I'm waiting down at the bottom of the hill with Bobby for probably 10 or 15 minutes, and then here you come on a stretcher. And then the other time you said, hey, you want to go trail riding? In my mind, I had never been mountain bike riding. I'm thinking like, oh, it's just riding a bike through the woods. How legit can it be? We are flying through these trails, cutting corners, taking these turns. I mean, I'm an athletic guy, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh my God, if I smoke one of these trees, I'm going down. And Bob shot off a jump, flew through the air, caught the caught collarbone, right?
Yeah.
Broke the collarbone, and then, right back up and at him. And to this day, I'm sure he's just as hardcore, passionate, and energetic. I mean, I don't think you mountain bike any slower.
Well, I definitely don't any slower. I'm a whole lot faster than then, hopefully. But my mistake I made then was the same mistake. Like if I was thinking I'm an ex-Marine and an ex-boxer, and I'm going to run and tackle you, it's not going to work out very well. I was thinking I used to race motorcycles, so I'm going to be good at this mountain biking thing. Well, somebody puts the brake where the clutch is or something. I don't know what. But besides that, I think that I do live a little bit on the edge. I have to have the adrenaline. That's maybe the personality. And I think I talked to you before this podcast. There was a little brief conversation where I mentioned that I make a mistake. One of the biggest mistakes I make in leading and vision is thinking that everybody's like me or thinks like me. And there's guys out there that just want the safety of a job to go and show up and I'm trying to advance them to running the job or form. I've made a mistake over and over, and I kind of probably going to make it again. They must want this. They must want to feel good about themselves, and I'll promote them, but sometimes they just don't. Well, and I learned the hard way for that stuff. I learned the hard way mountain biking. I thought that I'd be good at it because I'm not, I don't have fear. I used to race motorcycles. It's got to be the same thing. Well, no, it's a whole new skill set. I love it now. I'm just passionate about that as I am about other things in my life, is because I can get out there and feel free in the woods, get a little adrenaline stoke. It's a good way to get my health in line. It's one of the things I've feel most let down about is every year I kind of say, well, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, and I never really do. I think it's because I live in a balance. I still like my beer and like my food and like my social life, and I want to hang out with the friends when they're hanging out, and I don't want to have all these diet restrictions. And it's a good way to say I'm not getting it done. It's my bailout to say I'm not getting done what I want to get done. But
to be honest, you probably are, though. You probably are living with that balance. You know what? You don't need to go extreme with any of these things. You are living under your philosophy. Your ideology is like to stay balanced and, squeeze the most out of this life. You don't have to go further than what you are. It's probably good to be able to drink beer and mountain bike. It's good to do this and that. You know what I mean? That is balance. So I think you're winning in your philosophy and your theory for how to go through life. I want to talk a little bit about, no disrespect on this podcast to Amber or Amy, but I want to talk a little bit about, you witnessed Bobby from a young girl, growing up, following in her father's footsteps in boxing, and then doing some incredible things from boxing. First, locally there out of Bath, like you showed me her in a newspaper article way back in the day. It was one of the first times I met you. You brought in and you showed me this newspaper article. Well, it showed Bobby, I think she was going to like the national tournament or something, but you showed me the original article, and I was like, wow, like that's super cool. From Bath, like you said, there's a certain pride in the fact that if you come from an extremely small blip on the map and you do something exceptional, all those people are invested in that emotionally. You're not just a number in the sea. They know you. That's like, oh, that's Bobby that lives right there, killing it, right? You watch this woman first come up in the sport of boxing, which is a tough sport for women anyway, and then she kind of made like a little bit of a name for herself, to then going into mixed martial arts, we got to tell the intro for her debut for that. Otherwise, it'd be a dishonor to her. So you went from boxing to mixed martial arts, and then she ends up becoming the only professional female in Michigan's history to ever get to the UFC. She was on The Ultimate Fighter. She fought in the UFC. She walked out in the Little Caesars Arena for UFC's first ever event there to Detroit Rock City to light that place on fire. You know, let's talk a little bit about her journey. What was that looking like? Because a lot of people in this building are going to appreciate this story. What got you to put her into boxing initially, and then just kind of build all the way up to Bobby? You have a daughter that is the only UFC fighter in Michigan's history that's a female from Michigan.
Yeah. Well, it's an easy story. I know this one well. I lived it. Well, we had boxing gloves around the house. They played. They were rough. I think that I've told the story about myself a few times, is that having 3 daughters made me a better person. I probably would be a little bit more sexist, a little bit more. Having 3 daughters made me want the most for them, and want them to be treated equal, and wanted them to have all the opportunities anybody else does. They went into traditional sports like every other high school does. It's softball, and softball for girls, and you go play some volleyball and maybe some basketball, and they were doing that. And Bobby didn't get into boxing first. It was Amy. And Amy wanted to she actually requested to get a Y membership for the summer, or for the winter, to stay in shape for softball. And some communications ended up saying, let's go up to the boxing gym. I still know Chuck DeSander. He runs a gym. It's been around. He's been a lifelong friend. Let's just go up there and work out, and that way I can go with you, and we can hang out. And, I'll at middle age, I need to feel good about myself too. So go bounce around that a little bit. And it didn't take long where we realized Amy had a real talent, real skill. And we asked her, do you want to try? You want to try in the ring? And she ended up having like 7 knockouts in her first 9 fights. There's a video of her where they're saying, this could be a pro fight. This is, and she just did it 1 year, and then went on to her scholarship to softball. And it was kind of an action. I was looking at it like, whoa, she could be. She's unbelievably powerful. And she was always a natural athlete, Amy. And then Bobby didn't venture around. She was just young. She was still into doing, kids things and doing stuff, throwing people off the trampoline or whatever. Bobby's always been a roughhouser. She's a scrapper from day one. You don't teach that. And Amber kind of started going up and getting in the ring, and Bobby went with her, and they started training together. And Amber, bless her soul, I've never seen her quit on anything. Like most of her fights that she was in, she won more than, I think it's like 7-3 or record or something like that, and that's as far as she went. Well, most of them 7 wins, she was losing. She just didn't quit. You just pound them right, and next thing you know, you're looking. I remember her fighting a 16-year-old, and she was 13. I was scared about it, and it was kind of illegal little fight, I think. I don't know, but she went in and just kept going. Well, Bobby started kind of late, not really wanting it. I don't think she was like, I want to be a boxer, but it was evident from day one that she could be a star. She was a scrap. She didn't quit. She was a scrapper. She was quick and powerful. You found the power really quick, and it kind of went through the boxing thing where she was gonna quit because it was boring. You couldn't find fights once she runs through not that she's the best ever in the world or anything, but there's a competition level where she would have to fight up to stay in any kind of thing that would entertain her, and that's where the MMA came in. Was bored in the gym, running out of fights. She's lackluster. She's going through the training, going through the motions, not really improving, not really challenging herself. Everything that it takes, like starting a business, you got to challenge, you got to go. And I think I knew Ron.
Yeah, I want you to talk about this debut because she cracks people up when she tells about it. So right now you have a daughter that's only a boxer. Mixed martial arts is the sport where it's a grappling, takedowns, chokeholds, joint locks, everything, punches, kicks, everything. Go into the story of how Bobby got her MMA debut.
Yeah, and it was too quick to realize what a bad decision it was, because it could, you can ruin a fighter by making a bad decision. And I made bad decision with Bobby forever. I was coaching a little bit with her, and I was trying to make her a counterpuncher. Would you make Mike Tyson a counterpuncher? It was like the worst decision a dad could make. Oh, this is great, Dad. Become you. Fight like you. No, turn Bobby loose is what you should do. Well, the MMA, it's a good thing that she did just get turned loose, because her personality. We had 1 week, I talked to Ron, or 2 weeks, I think it was a couple weeks, and he said, well, I got a fighter. She's had a couple fights, but I think it's a good matchup for her. And so we brought a wrestler in, a high school wrestler not even a SFS style wrestler, but a really good, he was great in high school. And then, he went on to college. I think he could have had a college scholarship wrestling, but he ended up being a cheerleader for MSU squad and did a different route. But we brought him just to the idea was to show her not to get taken down. It wasn't to wrestle. It's just, don't get taken down. Well, she went out, her debut, and in my memory of it, I've watched it enough times, she dominated from get-go, just ground and pound. And it was a scrap fight, like a street fight almost. She knew how to box. She knew how to get her punches through, but she just turned into a fighter. It was all will and fighting. It's like, I think she got mad once and said, okay, I'm just going to end this, and that's kind of how it happened. But it was very amazing, very lucky that we didn't get a real grappler. That's because that could ruin, it's a lot of life is about luck and timing, and that first fight gave her some confidence to go. Ron said, "There's Jim. If you want to make her a fighter, if she wants to stay at this, go find James." So I think that's how she got started in any of it.
I remember the debut. Brian had actually fought on that card. He beat his opponent that night. And during the rules meeting, we had seen this little blonde girl sitting in the back. She was wearing a dress. So she showed up to fight night in a dress. So we see this little blonde girl sitting backstage in a dress, and she's the only girl in the room that we saw because we didn't see Kathleen, the other girl, because she was in full regular fight kit and probably hair done or whatever. And Brian and I actually cracked a joke at each other, and I said to him, I'm like, why did someone bring their girlfriend into the rules meeting? It's embarrassing, you know what I mean? Like, this is the fighters. And then Brian fought. We're out there. We're enjoying the show. And she walked out. And I remember being like, are you kidding me? That blonde girl that was backstage is going to fight tonight? And your recollection of the fight and from watching it is the same as mine. She smashed that debut. I mean, she was putting hands all over that girl. The girl was trying to grapple her. She was hammer fisting, and I mean, almost like a natural street fighter. It didn't look like someone that was uncomfortable. It looked like someone that was having fun. And in the end, she like waved her hand in the air before she dropped her with the punch. You remember that? So it was definitely a statement and almost like just a fit. Like, okay, this girl can do some things. And then we can skip forward, not to tie up the whole story, but then all of a sudden your daughter's about to make a professional MMA debut, okay? So she's been fighting amateur. She's done well. At that point, she was 8-3 as an amateur. She won a couple local state amateur titles. Her last fight was against Kelly Flory at TWC. She smashed that girl. She won the title. She looked good doing it. She got finished her with vicious ground and pound. Now you find out your daughter's about to turn pro in mixed martial arts. Now all of a sudden she's really going to go to the next level. What are you thinking at that point in time? Are you, as a father, supportive of it? Because there's a lot of women that come in here to train that their parents are not about it at all. You know what I mean? I don't want my daughter to fight. You find out your daughter's about to be a professional fighter. How are you feeling at that point in your life? And then let's talk about like when she got on The Ultimate Fighter, when she made her UFC debut, when she fought in Detroit, what that was like.
Well, I was always supportive because she wanted that. If she didn't want it, if she was just going because, a dad's forcing her or mom's or boyfriend, or it was always her passion. If it's her passion, I'm supportive of it. And then I'm also mathematical. And the math is out there. That the injuries are, you're almost, you drive to work, you're taking more of a risk than you are at a level, especially amateur boxing and, amateur stuff. It's pretty well regulated, well taken care of. The statistics are there. There's not the problem you get into is when you're going to shows where they're mixing skill levels at a different, if the coaches do the right job and the matchups are right and you trust who's around, someone's not going to throw somebody into, a matchup that is not equal. You don't have a 120-pound person fighting a 160-pound, it's just, I know statistically it's a fairly safe sport. Matter of fact, it's like ranked 18th, and so you're in America. I think the most dangerous sport is high school gymnastics, and everybody wants their daughter to do that. Well, so that's the answer I always have for them is like, how do you do this? Well, I do the math. It's how do you put your kid in gymnastics? Not high school gymnastics. I'm sorry, high school cheerleading. High school cheerleading has the most serious injuries. statistically per percent of participant.
Wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't. I mean, I actually knew cheerleading was up there because they do some wild stuff. They're launching each other through the air. They're bending their bodies in extreme ways. I wouldn't have known it was number one though. That's wild.
And I, that was number one when I coached back in, because I looked up the information because I had to go to a parent to, their son was getting into, the parents didn't want him, and they wanted me to go talk to the parents. So I got all the stuff together to have some background to say, here's what it is, what do you want? Well, soccer's worse than football, for injuries, and I was surprised by that. There's a lot of things I was surprised by, but wrestling, high school wrestling was really low. It was high on injuries, like you had sprains and stuff like that, but really low on serious injuries. Well, if it's your daughter or your son, it's the serious injury that you're worried about. I mean, you're worried about everything, obviously, but I was blessed to have 3 daughters that if they were hurt, I knew they were hurt. They didn't, if they stayed on the softball field on the ground, I'm jumping over the fence because I know they're hurt. They weren't fakers. They're not victims. That's a proud personality trait. And that's Bobby watching her go through. She's going to do her best and have the passion. And she always had good people around her. And that's a testament to you, and it's a testament to where she's going,
So
right now.
So she turns professional. She starts to dominate. I think the one major eye-opening experience is when she got on The Ultimate Fighter. So at first, she's winning a couple pro fights, you know what I mean? She's getting started, and people are talking about her. They're excited about her. Bobby Cooper's name here in Michigan, Amanda Bobby Cooper, people knew it. They knew that was a female fighter kind of paving the way here in Michigan. When she got on The Ultimate Fighter and then ultimately got signed to the UFC, what is that like to watch this little child, that your daughter that you brought up in this world, that is succeeding on that type of level in something that most people only dream of doing? What was that like? And then, I like I said, I want to talk about that fight in Detroit because that still gives me goosebumps. I can vividly remember that walkout, the energy in the crowd, her smashing Angela Magana. You know what I mean? Did it start to really become real when you saw her on Fox Sports?
Yeah, and that was a very amazing thing to set. Obviously we weren't there. I've seen, you can't be there. You're watching her on TV accomplish her dreams. Some of the fighters she fought on there I have a lot of confidence in Bobby, but I almost feel like she had a downfall in the sense that she got too successful too quick. Like that thing, the opportunity arose before she has she's a better fighter now.
Oh my God. I will back that statement a million times over. Bobby got on The Ultimate Fighter as a 2-1 professional, I think, or a 1-1 professional. That is unheard of. It actually said in the tryout paperwork. So when I saw The Ultimate Fighter tryouts, and I go, "You're going to this," and she's like, they would never pick me. And then she came back to me and said, "Look, it says you have to have." We didn't even have the minimum required number of fights, and that was bad. Looking back now, as a much older, wiser coach, I would have played the game a little bit slower, but it just seemed like, I'm telling you what, the moment is here, and I think you can not only get into this show, you can do well. But when we were in Vegas, we were sitting down. First of all, it took me forever to talk her into it. Then we're sitting down. She's terrified in the room, and the matchmaker walks in the room and goes, "If you don't have at least this many fights with this win percentage, leave the room right now." And we didn't. And she goes "What are we going to do?" I'm like, "You're going to stay right there. When they see you hit pads and when they see you grapple with these girls, you're going to get picked." And she's like, "You're insane. They're going to embarrass us. We're going to get kicked out in front of all these people." And not only did she crush the tryouts, get picked for the show, she was a finalist. She went in a house for 8 weeks of isolation with no coaches. The coaches they provided in the show. Not her comfort zone, in a circumstance that most people couldn't even understand. You have no cell phone, you have no outside contact. That's an extremely psychological situation to find yourself stuck in. And then she dominated. She won her fight to get in the house. Remember that with Melanie Giegas? You were there for that one. Weren't families? Yep.
No, I wasn't there for that. No.
I think they did. Well, maybe it was just the team. She armbarred the girl in the first, which got her into the house. You weren't. God, I feel like you weren't at the fight that got her into the house.
No.
Okay, well, she armbarred the girl that got her in the house. We lost our minds. But then she's gone. Nobody has contact. And we're all thinking, how is Bobby going to do? And then when the day it ended, they're allowed to make a phone call. And she calls me on the phone and says, "I won the show. I'm in the finale." It was the most the girl with the least experience at the entire tryouts, the one that everyone said "Oh, you might not be ready for this yet. That's too much too soon." She just won it. She just went and lived in a house in Vegas and beat 3 women back to back to back, finished 2 of them, and Jamie Moyle's fight, I mean, that was a beatdown. You know what I mean? Bloodied up, elbows from the top. Some of the best photos are from that fight. She wins it as a 1-1 pro. That is insane. You know what I mean? So now all of a sudden she gets signed to the UFC. And like I said, going back, if I could rewind the clock all the way to the beginning, I probably would have made her take 5 or 6 pro fights. Because it's like, you're going to get there. You have the skill. Because the Bobby that exists today, if she had the exact same, I mean, she's obviously about to give birth to her and Cody's first child, and like they have an amazing family going. Cody's going to be in the UFC, hands down. But with that being said, the fighter that Bobby is today, if you put her in that situation, she would have absolutely demolished all those girls, and she would, probably be slaughtering it in the UFC still. But hindsight's always 20/20, right? So she gets out of there. She's probably pride of the family to some degree. Everybody's knowing the Cooper name. You're seeing her on television. You're seeing her on Fox Sports. She's fighting in Brazil and Ireland and the Grand Garden Arena in Vegas. What is that like as a father? And then talk about that fight here in Detroit.
Yeah. So the pride is obviously there. You see me smiling. I don't know if there's cameras on me now, but the smile is obvious. The pride's. But I was always proud of her as a person. As a matter of fact, I wanted her to go further in the show just so someone would get a chance to see who she is. Because sometimes there's a fake persona of like the before fight day to be the tough girl. She's a sweetheart. She cares. She loves. I mean, I'm proud of who she is, who she's become, how her thought processes are, what she cares about, making people better, all that stuff. And I always thought she would have a career in announcing or is it something verbal because she's such a character. She's so quick-witted, so on top of her game with the kindness and the heart. And, and then if she does have that kindness, but if you were to challenge her in a rap-off or something, she might make you look really bad because she's got that quick-witted personality. And so the pride was who she was. And I could see some of that on the show, and she's down and, she'll beat you, then pick you up, kind of. That's what I love about her. I'll talk as tough all I want before the fight, but after we can be friends. So I seen that develop. I also knew the skill level of the people she was fighting, and that changed my pride. I actually gained a whole lot more confidence and respect for Bobby's UFC career or Bobby's path in that. After going through that, wow, if she can do this off of not much preparation as far as a lot of experience, she's got a real shot at making her career or making a name, world champion, all that. You throw them words on. Does anybody understand what it takes to be a world champion? There's a world champion. That's something that puts goosebumps on you. I remember watching the Olympics when I was a kid, and that's one of the things where you just tear up when someone finally got what it takes to get there. It's not this world champion stuff. It's not an easy path, and I thought she had what it takes, but I'm proud of who she is. I actually didn't know what I wanted for her. I wanted her to always find something that she's passionate about, and then passionate about having kids, maybe passionate about building a family. I don't care, just be happy and passionate, and then be grateful and walk out. She's living in, I don't know how to say God's country right now. As she walks out her door, she can see mountains. It's not a bad life. But so go back to the Little Caesars thing, the hometown. I mean, I had obviously a lot of friends there.
From Bath, Michigan, Bobby Cooper is the only female Michigan fighter ever to get to the UFC, and she's walking out in the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Yeah,
and goosebumps, all the pride. You know that she's honoring Bath. She's saying that. That she's she didn't have to honor Bath. She was living in Fowlerville, I think. She didn't have to honor anything, but she kept doing that, and that's I think that she's just as proud that she come from. And Bath is a great town. There's everybody has fondness of their familiar, their town or their hometown, but the people gathered around her and they support her, and to this day that I don't see anybody and they're not asking about her. So it's a good thing. We were in there, and like you said, they were playing Detroit Rock City. Bobby did that. It's like I don't know. It's a PR move that was perfect. Like, come on, I'm the hometown girl, but the pressure she puts on herself. Sometimes you'd like to. My personality would put me to fly under the radar a little bit. Not, and that was part of Bobby's original things. We'd put her in a dress and take her to a fight show so they wouldn't have high expectations of her. Like this, let's, and we couldn't find fights if we took her all, all toughed up. We have to, don't hit the pads prior, Bobby. They're not going to get in a ring with you. We got to get this fight going. So, it was kind of weird when I remember going to Chicago to get fights, and they're bringing out ladies that are 30 years old, just saying, like, let's fire up next. Who can beat Bobby? And she's just a 2-year boxer trying to get. That's the will. Some people just have it. She has it. I was proud of Bobby. I'm still proud. I'm proud of all 3 of my daughters. They're so different. You can't tell the same parents raise them, and I think that's a lot of mistakes you make through your life, and trying to get your kids to be like you would be one of the biggest mistakes you possibly could make. You got to get them to make good decisions and then make their decisions. And, whatever direction they go with that, just hopefully they find happiness and passion and some sense of worth.
If you could speak to a young kid now, whether it was a family member of yours or, like, let's just say you meet a young kid in any walk of life that's considering making a jump towards chasing their own dream, whether it's, regardless of what it is, what advice would you give those people as a man that's lived through so much, that's gone through ups and downs, that has made himself successful through following his dream? If you could simplify the advice, what would you tell someone that's thinking about venturing out on their own?
Well, first of all, I'd say do it, but if it's easy, it ain't worth it anyways. It's going to be hard. It's going to be. They say that about a marriage. It's going to be hard. It's relationships, all that. But working for yourself, having that is another level of pride that you're not going to get in a safety environment. So you might, I know I had a state job. I probably could still work for the state of Michigan. At 18 years old, I'm working for the state of Michigan. I probably might be retired by now. That's pretty safe existence. I don't advise it. There's so much more pride you can get out of, and not everybody can work for themselves. If everybody worked for themselves, how do we, I'm not a hater of anything. I'm not a hater of somebody that works for my family, come out of, 3 generations back, probably not poverty, I don't want to say that, but I think my family gravitated to Michigan following the auto industry, the work and the health benefits and all that, all that life gives you, the safety, security, all that. My dad worked 2 jobs to give us what he didn't have, and that work ethic made me work hard. I got offers. I could have went a different direction. I got offers when I worked in the restaurant industry to manage. I was managing a restaurant. They wanted me to manage, another. It was Sir Pizza is where I managed, and they had a H&A management company that did some other restaurants, and were asking me to come help with that. Well, I could have went down that path and just say I'm going to run these companies and own a restaurant. You don't know what path you're going to go on, but I didn't have passion for that. So I don't think you should start a company just because you want to be rich, or start a company because you want to say you own a company. I see a lot of people on the social media world, well, I work for myself, or I'm an Instagram model or whatever. Like, well, I hope you have passion for that, because that's, I would say if you don't have passion for it, don't do it. But if you have passion for something, and that's all it takes, really, hard work, dedication, and that passion.
My Aunt Di, when I was a little kid, she beat this sentence into my head so many times, and I really believe it influenced who I was. When I was a little kid, she always used to say, life is all about the love. And she would beat that into me over. It's all about the love. Jimmy, what is this? It's all about the love. It's all. And as a kid, you think it's just goofy, but she used to reiterate to me over and over that, like, what you're going to do in this life, it better be something you love. It's about love. The relationships you have, it's about the love. The way that your spirit interacts with the world around you, like, you need to find a way to make sure that love is a central part of it. And she used to beat that into me so much. And I remember as a little kid being like, yeah, right, Aunt Di, it's all about the love. But she's speaking on the exact same thing that you're speaking on. Like, you need to just find passion. You need to make sure that your life is fulfilling you on an inner level. At whatever the core of all of us are, you have to have something that resonates with you. So one thing that I'd like to go into, but only as far as you want. You've faced some extreme loss in your life, some adversity, some setbacks, some painful loss, as have I and as have most people. What do you think it was that during those darkest moments, or during the times of your life, that you really had to find something within yourself to choose to go on, you know what I mean, and make life a little bit better? What is it that pulled you out of the super tough spots? And I don't know if you want to discuss the loss that you endured, but you've been through in something that is incredibly damaging and heartbreaking. And how did you pull yourself out of that dark place?
Yeah, I hope my voice don't crack up a little bit. It's been close to hunting season, and all I can think about in this time of year is my brother. He is partner in work. I'd say, he didn't ever want to have he always said to me, I don't want to own anything, or I don't know how you want to own a company. He wanted to hunt. He wanted security. He wanted his, but what a great guy. Kindness all the way around. And he passed away on a job site working with me, or I wasn't on the job site at the time, but by far the hardest thing I ever went through. As a matter of fact, I had a business partner at the time, and I walked in and handed all my files to him and said, I'm done. I can't have pride in this company anymore. And my business partner was supportive, but in the thing said, no, this is, you grew this. This is what I know that part probably, didn't help on a marriage standpoint. It was a little bit, I was in self-pity and taking, not thinking correctly and feeling almost destructive, drinking a little more than I should, and feeling sorry for myself when, in reality it wasn't anything about me. Dawn at the time was a friend, and she'd just lost her cousin in a motorcycle accident, and almost pretty close to the same time. And I think that's how we became friends, is through a communion like that. But how I got through it was the same reason why I know our company's a family. They all come together. They put their arms around me. They kept it going. Sorry, Jim.
No.
So I remember looking at my dad, and I was embarrassed that I wanted to keep integrity going, but he approved. He didn't want it to go to waste. And so, without crying here on the,
no, it's all right, man.
Get me on camera, but
these real conversations are important. I mean, to understand, like, you could have given up on yourself, you could have given up on your team, you could have given up on your vision, you could have given up on your goals, and like, how many lives would have been affected by that? And you know what I mean? Like, your brother would be so proud that you kept going. And I know what it's like to go through extreme loss, and like, people are going to experience that in their life. A lot of people are going to go through times like that, and knowing that, like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel is important, because when you're in that situation, you do not see it, you don't feel it, you don't believe it. You know what I mean? So it's great to hear stories of people that have overcome it.
Well, I know he was proud of integrity. I know, and then there's a lot. I know that, and I know that I want to make him proud of integrity. And if he's seen integrity where it is today, I mean, we when we started, we're out of a kitchen. Then we moved to a local plan room in town and had an office rented. One of the, a lot of things in my life, you would look back and say, well, that was genius. Well, it wasn't thought of. It just happened to be genius by accident. I'm kind of the clumsiest genius in the world, but I rented an office in a plan room with every client in Lansing coming through the door. It's like, how can you get any, and so that's building relationships right from the get-go. And that was a $300 a month office rental. Then we moved to Okemos and clumsily rented a warehouse space that was actually hindered our growth because there wasn't enough warehouse space, clumsy office. We didn't have the room to grow. And so we, things were going pretty good. We bought land in Holt thinking we're going to build a building. And then the economy crashed. So now you're in survival mode. And luckily, Nick and I, as partners, and then we have another partner, Rick, because Rick's got about five more years, and he won't be our partner anymore. He's a genius business-wise. That's his strength is, and I see stuff today where politicians are this and that. I was like, man, I'm working around the most intelligent people I know. We can kick them into politics. Wish he would do that. But he's basically retiring. We have it's a stock company in a sense. We're buying him back his stock, and but he's been instrumental in guiding us in a way, like arm around us and giving it. we always make the day-to-day decisions. We make the stuff, but he's there if we need something, or But we pulled back and tightened up the overhead, and Nick and I have always just paid our wages kind of like the carpenter makes. We don't take money out of the company, so we had money to survive the money was still in the business, put it that way. It wasn't in luxury things, and we weren't taking it out. We were building, and we planned on growth, and we wanted a office someday, and better trucks and better tools for the guys, and give them some pride and some clothes and however, just build it up like everybody else builds a company up. Well, we had to sell the land, and we had to back off on some of the overhead stuff, but then a piece of property in Lansing come up for sale at a good value because of the economy crash. So sometimes having some cash flow, even at a bad time, can can advance your growth quicker. And that's my advice now to people, is that when you say adversity, we've had adversity with my brother's stuff. We've had adversity with some of our main close teams. They've had some hardships. We've had adversity in the economy. And then now with the COVID thing, that could be, we basically lost about $3 million in sales with the slowdown, but we became a better family, I think. We're tight, more pride in that we had to come together and fight this thing. You grow. If you don't grow with adversity, we did lose some profits, maybe lost some money, maybe stalled out our progress a little bit, but we grew in other ways. Our technology advancements improved. We took time to reanalyze what we're about. We made sure that the guys knew we're all committed to their livelihood and their families, and that's a growth. It's sometimes a reset and a relook at what you stand for is growth.
100%. I want to talk a little bit about where Integrity's at today, because I remember quite a few years ago, it's got to be so many years ago now, you had the acquisition of Beaumont Construction, which I don't know if you worked alongside them at one point or worked for them at one point, but I remember that was a huge deal to you where you were, working with them, and then you acquired parts of their company or the whole company. I don't know the exact specifics there. But then, so Integrity has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And earlier on the podcast, you said over 100 people work for the company now. That's at one point you'll have over 100 people work. That's incredible. So where is Beaumont? Where is? I said Beaumont Construction. Yeah. Where is Integrity today? And what are the goals with Integrity? Like, if you looked at a big picture plan, what is your end game for Integrity?
Okay. Well, let's start with the where we're at today. Yeah. So what you're talking about, Boma was where I started in construction. They gave me the confidence. They gave me the build. Doug Walker, and Boma Corporation, there's Boma Ben, there's Boma Corporation. Boma Corporation is a large company, large general contractor, do very good work. They're out of Grand Rapids. They have an office in Traverse City. They're the real deal. I think they're open shop, we're union, but that don't matter to me. If you do business right and you pay your employees and you take, that's all that should matter. But they run a good business, but they had a company in town, Boma Interiors, and that's where I started. And Boma Interiors is Doug Walker, but I mean, he ran it. He was the owner of that division, or percent owner. I don't know the exact details how much. They gave me a start. They were a great company. Matter of fact, all the clients used to say their field personnel are absolutely excellent. Doug probably estimating genius. I don't know. He's does really good at what he does. And I think what happened to their company is the Lansing division was they hired some estimators on a program, and some estimators that didn't come through for them, made some mistakes with a timing problem. When you make major dollar mistakes when the economy's crashing at the same time, they lost grip of it really quick, and the Boma Corp cut ties and got rid of the Boma Interiors in Lansing. I don't know the specifics. I don't care the specifics, but the Doug Boma, that I established a relationship with it from the past from working for him. Doug Boma called me up and said, we're shutting it down in Lansing. We've got all these tools and equipment. We know you. We'd rather you have it. Come and give us a price to get this stuff. So we basically made a blank purchase of all their tools, their equipment, their trucks, and And that was a pride. I mean, you say a pride source. It's not a pride source that somebody else was struggling. If I don't really feel like we have competitors. We have people that do the same work as we do, but we're a different. I think we're the best, and I'm proud to say that. And we go out and we just try, but we operate on different things. We don't need the largest job in town. We don't need they always say there's ones for the show and ones for the dough, and we want the jobs that the guys are proud of. And well, BOMA shutting down gave us a bunch of tools and equipment that we needed at the time, and we happen to have the cash to do it so everybody's watching their cash in a bad economy. We were watching our overhead, but we had some to make some moves to set us up for future success. And with purchasing the 6 acres of land and warehouses and everything that we got, that was a big move. And then the BOMA purchase was a big move. And then our business partner, Rick, who I talked about being a genius, he owned another company in Flint, and we purchased that from him, which was Central Interiors. We did that 2 years ago now. And so that's another big move for us. So we have an office in Flint, an office in Jackson, an office in Lansing.
So, yeah, I mean, you've been expanding and expanding. Even through the tough times, you're finding ways to push it to the next level, whether it's bringing your team back together and getting back to your core values and figuring out, like, hey, this is who we are and we're going to make it. Don't worry, we're all a team. Or whether it's in times where even though the economy is shaky, you had made the right moves to be able to acquire the thing that's going to take you to the next level as soon as you get there. So what does the goals look like for Integrity? Like, what does your team envision for the future? Like, what do you see as the big picture? 5 years from now, if we were to do another podcast, where do you think we are?
Well, we are in a mix of a little bit of an expansion. We're looking like possibly starting some more work, following our clients to Florida, to the Florida base. We're waiting for the COVID to shake out and stuff like that. We've got a team together right now that some of them need to move into, we're going to have some openings in some estimating positions and some management positions because of some retirement. We got to move some of that around, so we can't grow without that in place. We're going to expand on our Jackson division. So what we're trying to do is expand our scope of work more than our office locations. We want to expand our scope of work for the longevity of our team. So when they come into work for Integrity and like an apprentice drags in and we're starting to train him and we're getting him up and running, their next 10 years may be working on production jobs, using their back a little bit. I hate to say it that way, but construction's always going to be production. You can't get around it. The more proficient you are at your work, the more productive you'll be. The more skilled you are, the more productive you'll be. It ain't about making a guy go work to death. It's about learning the skill and getting it through. Well, some of this production stuff that we have to do, that the only way to compete is by getting it done quick, is a young man's game. And not to have an age discrimination. Some of the guys are old enough and efficient enough at it that they can do it too. But we wanted to have an avenue to take their skills later on and pull them all the way through retirement so they don't see an end game in the middle of their career. Their end game is the end of their career. And the end game, so then we give them doors, frames, hardware. We give them specialty trims. We give them some siding stuff. That's our game plan, is that way they can see that they can start at our company and end at our company. Our company isn't just a 30-year-old company. It's all the way to you want to retire company. If we don't give them that safety and security, we can't get loyalty back. So that's our vision right now, is to grow that part of it to make sure that these guys understand that we're committed to them for the long term. We want them to retire out of us. We don't want to retrain the skill. These guys aren't interchangeable. I always used to laugh when they would say, hire a couple apprentices to save money. Are you kidding me? You don't save money with lack of skill. You're investing in that skill. If they make, first of all, with the union package, the package is always the same anyways. It's just the wage that's less. But if an apprentice can do what a 6-year journeyman do, we don't have a apprentice problem. We have a journeyman problem. So these guys earn that skill. They're really good at what they do. They should be proud of what they do, and we want to invest in them to make sure there's a future for them long term.
It reflects in everything we've talked about on this podcast. Your quality over quantity. You're dialing in to make sure that you're the best first before you worry about big picture. You're constantly building the foundation within the company so that you have room to expand if you want to, but it's because you've invested in your people. You don't, build this mega thing without the infrastructure. You're making sure that the infrastructure is there, the people are there, the skills are there, and then you say, hey, you know what? There is an ability to expand, and everybody's in the right position. We got the right people, and we have the energy. Why not if the opportunity presents itself? So, man, I don't know if you even know, we've been going for over an hour and a half.
Oh, well, that's going to be a boring podcast.
Definitely
we should have talked
not.
a little of the Bob stories.
No, there's excellent insight in this podcast. And what it is success leaves clues. And when you listen to people speak, it's not just the words they say, but it's how they say them. It's, there's a lot to be gained from listening to people. That's the reason it's good to get mentors in life. It's good to follow other people that have done it and listen to the way they speak about the world. Listen to the way they speak about people and passion and energy, because it leaves clues for the, like a glimpse into their psychology on how they've become those people. You know what I mean? So I think this podcast has been phenomenal. I think there's excellent information in here. And I think you told some really good stories that if people pulled their perspective and looked at it from the way that you're speaking, they would say, wow, there's progress to be made there. I can learn from that. So one thing I know about you is you want to write a book one day, and you like to read, you like to be inspired by quotes and information out there. If there's anything that you could leave people with, it could be a quote that has resonated with you that's powerful. It could be a book that you read that had a strong impact on you. It could be something that one person said to you at a point in your life where you said, like, that right there was a powerful moment that I know is a part of the shaping of Bob Cooper. We'll end with that, and then we'll just wrap this thing up.
Well, that one's easy. It's kind of my life philosophy. It's the, and it is, you think, it's weird to say, but think small for bigger change. And if you start with your mind and work on your mind first and then move to your body and health and all that, you can't go and think you're going to get out of high school and change the world. First of all, start with your mind. Get your mind right. It's kind of insulting for me to say about, but I see a lot of people that are in social services that are trying to help everybody else, but they don't even got their own mind right. And not to cut them down or anything, but get your mind right. Get your happiness. Walk out. See the gratitude in the world. See love. Have that kindness. If I want to be known for anything in life when I'm done, I hope it's kindness. Kindness means so much to me, but get your mind right, then work on your body and health. If you get that right, then you can start working on your family and friends around you. Grab that, move on to your community, but don't ever lose track of what's important. Start small to get big, and that would be my parting thing. I'm glad you didn't ask a question that I didn't know the answer to, but I feel passionate about that. But anything, I don't know how people look at life and don't see how great it is, but that starts with the mind. It didn't start with somebody telling me life's great. It starts me walking out in the morning and seeing the stars and the sunset, sunrise in the morning and sunset at night, and knowing there's another day, and I'm grateful.
And I want people to understand that although it seems so simple sometimes when happy people say, like, hey, just do it, just be this, just do that, it really is often down to your own perspective. The same, if you could clone a human being and give someone a bad perspective on life that focuses on the wrong things, that's consumed by the negative and drama and stress and anxiety, and you took the exact other person and you painted them full of passion and hope and inspiration and motivation, that person would go through this world completely different. So what Bob is tapping into is you have to start within, and you have to fix the things within that you're not happy with, and you have to grow and progress. And through that progress, the entire world will change in front of you. Your perception of the world will be different. You actually touched on one of my favorite quotes of all time, is the exact ideology that you're speaking about. And it's the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own personal transformation. And it's so simple. If you can transform the inner workings of your mind, the world changes because you perceive it differently. When one person sees stress and anxiety and fear and doubt, you see opportunity and potential and things that bring you up, and then that refuels your tank. So I think that is a phenomenal way to end the podcast. And truly, like I said, it was a pleasure to have you here today. I know I didn't set any expectations for you, but this is how I've done every podcast. I don't write a single thing down up front. I want to just talk to other human beings, have good dialogue, and hopefully people watching this can draw something from it. You know what? And if not, I love the conversations regardless. So, Bob, I appreciate you joining me on here today, and we'll wrap this up.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your time.